Welcome to AFSPA Talks, a production of the American Foreign Service Protective Association. Each month, we deliver informative health and wellness topics you want to know about, so make sure to subscribe to us on your preferred podcast platform. And if you have any questions about content discussed in this episode, ask them at AFSPA Live, our live Q&A session streaming every last Thursday of the month at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/AFSPA Cares. Now here's your host, Chief Executive Officer Kyle Longton.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of AFSPA Talks. I'm Kyle Longton, and with me as always is...
Maddie Norton.
Maddie, it's still November.
It is.
Which means it's still open season.
Our favorite time of the year.
Now, this is coming out on November 17th. At this point, we are deep into open season. One weekend. We've had a lot going on. There's still more to come. I'm wondering if you can help me and our listeners and viewers remember exactly what we've already offered and what's on the horizon for open season.
Absolutely. At this point, when this podcast comes out, we'll have AFSPA Live in 3 days on the 20th. So if you have questions just from this podcast or questions in general from open season, definitely join us there. It'll be on our YouTube channel, Facebook, LinkedIn, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We're doing it a week earlier than normal just because of Thanksgiving. But I am sure that we will have the event created. And so you can fill out the form if you have a question you want to submit in advance in the show notes. So definitely look out for that. So we'll have that on the 20th. And in the meantime, Kyle will be doing a lot of webinars where he will have one type of webinar where he is giving a presentation on the plan. It's about an hour long, and then he will be chatting with people throughout. You can join if you're a member or if you're not a member and just wanting to look. And then he will do a live Q&A at the end of it. And then we have another type of webinar where it's just Kyle, and he is answering any questions you might have live. And so definitely make sure you have the difference noted when you sign up to register at afspa.org/events. And he's doing them all day and all different times of night.
And I'll note that those live Q&As, we've tried to pair at least a couple of them to follow up on the live chat days through the virtual benefits fair. Yes, we've got several of our colleagues. Actually, Maddie will be there as well in the background on the virtual benefit fair to answer questions on the live chat days. But in case you didn't get your question answered, in case you didn't get a chance to chat live with us, that's when we're doing those live Q&As with me. It's usually the day after. So check it. And we've also done some things on the podcast for people who can't participate in the webinars and so forth, or prefer to take us with them on the road for the holidays.
Right. We have done lots of episodes. Recently, you'll have heard our basic open season changes, benefits, everything that you can think of. We've talked about it. And then last week, we released an episode with Express Scripts, also known as Evernorth.
Yep. We're getting used to that change, but
we are.
Same company, same partners for us. Yes.
And we talked to them a little bit about the prescription changes and tiers and how that works with everything. So definitely check that out if you want to. And then we're obviously releasing this one, so that'll be super fun. And obviously we have a backlog of all kinds of programs that we offer, and anything that you might be interested in. I bet we've done a topic on it or a podcast on it.
Right.
And then I'll also just mention, Kyle kind of touched on the virtual benefit fair. We have a booth. You can go there and look at all of our brochures, any changes we're making. And then we have 4 live chat days. We will put that information in the show notes, and you can register and chat with me, one of my colleagues. And we will be sure to answer any questions you have there. So you can do that. It's from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on certain days. And so definitely do that if you would like to.
And that's Eastern time, right?
Yes, Eastern time.
Good.
Yes, let me make sure. So definitely check that out as well. And I'm trying to make sure I'm not forgetting anything else, but always check out our Facebook page for any updates, our website. We have an open season webpage that breaks down every change we're making to the plan, what your premiums will be. And that's where you can find the full plan brochure, a summary brochure, the overseas brochure, basically anything you could need, it's on that page. And that's just afspa.org/FSBP/open season. I think that's everything.
Something for everyone. Absolutely. And one of the things that we've talked about in the last 2 weeks that I've spent a little time on in some of the webinars so far and so forth are GLP-1s.
Yes.
And
A
we
hot
talked about
topic.
a hot topic, and it's remained a hot topic for a number of years now, not
Yeah.
just months, but
Yeah.
years. But so we are making some changes next year, and so I just want to say, one of the things that is out there, the drugs are usually for two main purposes. One is for diabetes, the other is for weight loss. And we're going to focus on the weight loss side today. But I want to emphasize for those who are listening, we are not changing the requirements for members who are taking GLP-1s for diabetes. Namely, and this also, the information today applies to members in the United States. And I'll get into a little more detail in that a little bit later. But who are taking Ozempic or Mounjaro for a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. We are doing a closer look at the prior authorization, but um, if you have a diagnosis of type 2, we can verify that typically in the background. We are working together between Express Scripts, Evernorth, and Aetna to verify that information without typically having to interrupt coverage for members. We may have a few people who maybe started taking these drugs, didn't actually have type 2, maybe it was just pre-diabetes, which the drug is not approved for that. So there may be a little bit of disruption there, but this is for members who are receiving diabetes drugs and actually have a
Yes.
diabetes diagnosis. We're tightening up some of the existing requirements, but should not interrupt the therapy for members who have a diagnosis of diabetes that's been clinically documented.
Yes. And so today we're specifically talking about GLP-1 drugs for weight loss, namely Wegovy and Zepbound in the United States. We've mentioned before that GLP-1s were originally developed to treat diabetes, but they have an incredible impact on weight too. And so we're going to talk about how that works in a little bit.
Yep. And before we get too far into the details, I do want to share some info on the trend. And trend is our health insurance term about like how much we're spending more, even when it's adjusted for membership and so forth. But the trend that we've seen with GLP-1s for weight loss. So they first appeared on our radar in 2022 as sort of a category to watch. At that point, those who know will know that it was mainly diabetes drugs at that time, and
Yes.
they
Yep.
were still coming on the market and so forth. But a category to watch was a bit of an understatement. I don't think any of us understood that. But from 2022 to 2023, calendar year to calendar year, the trend on these drugs increased 255.6%. Okay, you're thinking maybe a one-time blip. That's what I was thinking. Okay. 2023 to 2024, the trend increased 192.7%. Not a one-time blip. And I also want to note that and this is just for weight loss. This is
Yes.
not all GLP-1s. This is weight loss. I do want to also note that Zepbound, which is incredibly popular, wasn't even introduced. It wasn't on the market until November, in
Mm-mm.
some cases December of 2023.
Yep.
Um, and so that's why we see a lot of increase. And the latest data that I have compares the first half of 2025 to the first half of 2024. We saw a 169% trend. Actually, in the first half of 2025, we spent almost as much on GLP-1s for weight loss just in that first 6 months as we spent in the entirety of 2024. Now, we know that some members, because of cost changes, and other plans may have come to us, and particularly maybe for the GLP-1 benefits. Okay, that's fine. But we saw a 77% increase in the number of unique patients just in the first half of 2025. They were not taking the drug in the last 3 months of 2024. So this is incredibly important therapy for a lot of people. But one of the other things is that discontinuation rates on GLP-1s are high. And we'll talk more to our guests later today, who is a medical practitioner, medical professional. So I won't get too far into that. But GLP-1 rates, you see people stop taking them at a high rate. So we'll talk more about that a little bit later.
Right. And we just want to emphasize too that they're being discontinued a lot of times because people are not used to the side effects or the dosage change can affect them too much. And these aren't side effects that are rattled off on a prescription drug ad. It's not like this may happen to you. It's like these are affecting most
Fast talk
people.
at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the fast talk. Yeah, these are happening to most people, and it can be difficult to handle. So, with that being said, we want to give people the support that they need. And before we talk about the support program, Kyle, can you please remind listeners the general criteria for continued coverage of GLP-1s for weight loss?
Yes, and I'm going to chime in, I think, throughout our interview with our guest to remind of some of these pieces. But these are the criteria. What I'm about to go over will be the criteria in 2026. So first of all, doctors will have to complete a prior authorization or a PA. They will also have to complete a new PA in 2026, even if you've already been on the drug. And that's because some of the requirements are changing. So there will be several questions that the doctor will have to complete. It's fairly quick. They'll be familiar with it. And these surround particularly a patient's body mass index or BMI. So the first question will be, did the patient have a BMI of 32 or higher prior to beginning the therapy? We understand if you've been on this drug for some time, even just a few months, but especially if you've been on it for some, a year or more, likely you've lost weight. That's the goal of the drugs, right? And so your BMI is going to be lower than when you started, but we're looking back to when you started the therapy. I do also want to note that this BMI of 32 or higher is a change from what was in place in 2025 and prior, which was the BMI of 30 or higher. Um, the other alternative is that if you have a BMI of 27 or higher with two comorbidities, something like high cholesterol, high blood pressure, et cetera, the doctors know what these requirements are, then you qualify for the drug. And that's not a change. The doctor will also have a question to answer about, has the patient engaged in other attempts at weight loss that have not been successful, et cetera. That'll be in there. That's, again, not a new question. That's been in there. There's now a new requirement starting in 2026. The reason that today AFSPA talks about the Advanced Weight Management Program, that members will have to participate in this Advanced Weight Management Program. More details on that are coming. But I just want to add a few notes before we get into the details of that program. The first is that members who have opted into the FSBP Aetna Medicare Advantage plan and therefore have prescription coverage under what we typically call the MAPD, or members who have their prescription coverage through the FSBP Express Scripts Medicare Prescription Drug Plan, the PDP, and there's a lot more people with the PDP coverage than the MAPD coverage. You are not subject to the requirements of this program to participate in the Advanced Weight Management Program. Your coverage is somewhat separate from that. You still have access as a PDP member to the existing weight management program that we're offering, but not the advanced one. That is only for members who have their prescription coverage through the high option. The new program is available to members around the world. You can access these chronic care management programs. Typically, you do need to have a U.S. address, even including an APO, DPO, or FPO address. However, I want to be clear at this point that because participation in the Advanced Weight Management Program is tied to the prior authorization of the drug in the United States through our partners at Evernorth and Express Scripts, members overseas do not necessarily have to participate in this program. You can. You've got the support available. Use it. Be more successful. That's the whole goal. But because you will be obtaining GLP-1s through a local provider, through a local pharmacy, and not through Express Scripts, this program is not required of you. If you come back to the US in the future and want to obtain drugs in the US under the FSBP's high option prescription drug benefits, you would be subject to this program. So just keep that in mind. Maybe you want to get started now. That's a lot of fine print. That was my own version of fast talking at the end of the commercial. We're doing
Right.
fast talking at the top of the episode. But Maddie, to get into the specifics of how this program works, we have a returning guest with us. Can you tell us who's joining us?
Yes, I would love to. Grace Silverio is the Director of Solution Strategy for Teladoc Health and the subject matter expert for chronic conditions, including prediabetes, diabetes, hypertension, and weight management. She has been a registered nurse for 18 years and is a certified diabetes care and education specialist. She uses her knowledge and expertise to demonstrate how our products can help members live healthier lives by preventing or managing a chronic condition, ultimately leading to behavior change and better outcomes. Grace is passionate about diabetes and is the board secretary for the nonprofit Diversity in Diabetes, working to create awareness and provide education about inequities in healthcare and poor health outcomes in individuals and communities of color. She is also on the Kansas Missouri Breakthrough T1D chapter board for community engagement. And we are so excited to hear from her today and glad that she's back to educate us on this topic.
And returning champion Grace Silverio, welcome back to AFSPA Talks.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I totally feel like I'm part of the crew.
I know.
Good. We
You
feel that way
are
too.
our third host. Grace, we're hoping you can take us through some background about this program. We mentioned in the intro that the weight loss GLP-1s are Wegovy and Zepbound. Can you talk a little bit about how they work to aid people with weight loss?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Wegovy and Zepbound both belong to a class of medications known as GLP-1 receptor agonist, and they essentially mimic a natural hormone in our body, that is the GLP-1 or glucagon-like peptide 1 to get real fancy. But it plays a role in the regulation of appetite and blood sugar. So when someone takes these medications, a few things happen. Physiologically, first, they signal to the brain, specifically the appetite centers, that you're full sooner, and it helps you stay full longer. That naturally leads to reduced calorie intake. And then, second, they slow down how quickly food leaves your stomach. So you don't get that rapid rise and fall in hunger after eating. People often describe as feeling satisfied with smaller portions. And then the third thing is that they help regulate insulin and blood sugar levels, which is really important because for many people living with obesity or prediabetes, insulin resistance is sort of part of the challenge to kind of come together. So all together, really providing or offering less hunger, slower digestion, more stable blood sugars to support that meaningful sustained weight loss when it's paired especially with healthy habits and lifestyle changes.
That is the best summary and
Yeah.
most concise summary I think I've heard of these drugs. And you also touched on why they're so effective for diabetes, type 2 diabetes treatment. But we're talking about the weight loss ones today. But generally, when we're talking about the GLP-1s, and I'm going to use the shortened form there, are there common side effects that patients can expect?
Yeah, I mean, like any other medication, GLP-1s can have side effects, most of which are related to gastrointestinal or GI systems because of how these medications slow your digestion. The symptoms are usually mild to moderate, and they tend to improve as your body adjusts and becomes more aware or comfortable with the medication, or when doses are increased gradually, which is also really important. There's also some neurological side effects that people report, such as headaches, fatigue, or dizziness, and that's typically early on when they start the medication. But because these medications help regulate your appetite, some people describe a change in how they think about food. I've heard it described often as like the food noise. It gets quieter. But overall, the side effects are manageable for most people, especially when the medication is started slow and paired with mindful eating and hydration.
And I know you mentioned dosages. And so when people go to price the drug, there are many different dosages. And can you provide an insight on why there are so many options for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. It can be confusing. A lot of people, when they look at the medications, they notice that there are several different options for both Wegovy and Zepbound, and that's intentional. These medications are really designed to be titrated, which means that the dose is gradually increased over time. There's this, or supposed to be, a slow ramp up, which allows the body to adjust and help minimize those GI side effects that we talked about earlier. Everyone's tolerance, though, is different and response time can vary. So the right dose is really individualized. Some people reach their dose goal and stay there. Some may need to remain at a lower dose and, until it's effective or well tolerated. So that's why it's important to have an ongoing conversation with your provider. They're really going to help guide you on when and how to adjust the dose safely based on how you're feeling and the results that you're seeing.
Absolutely, and I think you coming to this, and one of the things we mentioned in the intro was that there are high discontinuation rates for these drugs, and I'm wondering, maybe expanding on what you just talked about, can you shed any light on why that's the case?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there are several studies that have shown that up to half of people who started GLP-1 medication stopped taking it within a year. There's a few reasons why that might be happening. Definitely side effects that we talked about, nausea, stomach issues that can really be tough for people to manage if the dose is increased too quickly, especially. But for others, it might come down to cost, insurance coverage, which can be a real barrier. These medications are expensive, right? And then there's also the behavioral side. The medications work best when paired with lifestyle changes. And so for some people, they find it challenging to sustain those habits or, expect results maybe a little too soon or to continue even after stopping the medication. So it's really a combination of access, tolerance, expectations, and long-term support. But that's why it's really important to have a care team, which is what we're able to provide Teladoc with a health coach and help navigating those challenges and staying successful over time.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And we want to make sure that our FSVP members have access to that support so that they can be as successful as possible when taking these drugs, especially with the different side effects and how that can affect you in your daily life. And that's one of the reasons why we are partnering with Teladoc Health to provide the advanced weight management solution for members. So Grace, can you tell us what is this program?
Absolutely. So this new program was really designed to meet people where they are, especially those who've started or are considering a GLP-1 for therapy for their weight loss. We know these medications can be powerful tools for weight loss, but they also work best when they're paired with lifestyle changes and ongoing education. That's where our advanced weight management program comes in. So it's really built to complement someone's GLP-1 journey, focusing on healthy behavior change, things like mindful eating, physical activity, hydration is important, sleep, and so is stress management, your mental health. And so that really makes it different from the weight management and the prediabetes program we've offered to FSBP members in the past. It's much more personalized to people with GLP-1s. Our coaches are trained to really understand these medications, work with members that might experience some of those side effects that we talked about and how to help them navigate those side effects, nutritional needs with the ability to actually meet with a registered dietitian and just really overall setting some realistic goals. So it's really, in short, not replacing the existing programs, it's expanding them, and it gives members the tools and support to make those results sustainable and turn the short-term progress into long-term success.
I love that. And I've had personal experience with what you can achieve when supported by a coach and in a different setting when in terms of managing my diabetes when I was first diagnosed and ongoing, and it makes a huge difference. But I just want to take a moment here, and some of our listeners or viewers, if you're on YouTube, might be wondering, so why this program? And we're going to get into some more of the details in just a moment, but I just want to emphasize that there is evidence from a number of studies that programs like this often lead to greater sustained weight loss, better management of side effects, and increased adherence and continuation of the therapy. Some of these things Grace has already touched on. But from FSBP's perspective, we decided to partner with Teladoc because you're already familiar with Teladoc. We've been turning to them for actually for chronic care management since 2017. When we first launched the diabetes management program at that time under the Livongo heading. Now all part of the Teladoc family. But we've also been working with them on virtual primary care, general medicine, mental health, nutritional counseling, dermatology, services, and so forth for the last 5 years. And there's another reason we're partnering with Teladoc Health. This solution will be integrated with other programs to offer comprehensive support to our members. So if you're talking to a coach and they say, maybe you need to, maybe a mental health support would also be good for you. Boom, you've got access to the mental health program right there within the same Teladoc app. So we waited for a partnership with Teladoc. We waited for the time was right to find something for our members. We wanted to make sure this was all integrated and as easily accessible as possible for our members. I also want to note, we talked about this in the intro, but it's worth repeating. This is a program that was brought by FSBP. We sought the solution. We're partnering with Teladoc, also with Express Scripts on this. And that enrollment in this program is required and ongoing engagement in this program is required to continue receiving coverage for your GLP-1 drugs for weight loss if you're getting them in the United States through the benefits under Foreign Service Benefit Plan. So I just want to emphasize that. So, Grace, back to you. When can members enroll in this program?
So January 1st, 2026, you can enroll in this advanced weight management for your GLP-1 weight loss support.
Excellent. We'll provide a link in the show notes to the current program. More information will be coming out closer to January, and we'll be making sure that you have access to that. So, Maddie, back to you.
Absolutely. So, what happens once someone enrolls?
So once someone enrolls, we want you to download the app, or if you want to use the web portal, but once you download the app, we're going to send you the scale. So you're going to receive the device. It's going to be connected, already ready to go. It's cellular enabled, so you don't have to worry about Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, and you can get started right away.
All right, that is excellent. That you don't have to wait. You can log on and start using it. More tools coming to you, but I mentioned engagement before, and I want to make sure I get this clear. What are the engagement requirements for this program?
Very good question. So we want you to weigh in 4 times per month and then engage in the app at least 4 times per month.
And before we get to the app, can you tell us why the program incorporates weigh-ins? What is the value of a weigh-in?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And we know sometimes stepping on the scale can bring up some mixed feelings for people. So it's important to understand why we include weigh-ins. The purpose isn't to judge progress by a single number. It's really about data and trends. When you're doing those regular weigh-ins, it really helps create a more complete picture of your health journey over time. It also allows both you and your coach to see patterns, for example, and how, changes in your eating habits, activity, your sleep, or medication might be affecting your progress. And then with the GLP-1s, weight tracking also helps ensure that the medication is working as it is expected to be working, right? So that can help with any adjustments that can be made early if needed. So it's not about focusing on a number. Really the objective is the data to celebrate wins, catch those plateaus early, and have more informed, supportive conversations with your care team.
I really appreciate that because we have had some questions already from members about, okay, well, why weigh-ins? And so thank you.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the engagements in the app? 4 times per month, what does that look like?
Yeah, so we make it super easy for you to log and track your food. There's an extensive search engine of those commonly eaten restaurant foods, grocery foods that you can find in the search engine. It actually keeps track of your own personal library, right? We tend to be creatures of habit, so you don't have to keep searching for those same brands that you buy. I always buy the same creamer for my coffee kind of thing, right? So I don't have to search for it every single time. When you log your meal, you can actually take a picture to go along with your meal description so that when you're having that conversation with the coach, the picture is worth 1,000 words, right? A little cliche, but it's so true, right? Like, good job with the salad as an example, but maybe next time, Grace, don't put, a quarter cup of ranch dressing on it, kind of, right?
Right. Okay.
Reading articles is another great way to engage in the app. We have a lot of evidence-based articles that you can easily read and access. Working with a coach is another way you can get in the app and schedule those one-on-one unlimited telephonic coaching sessions, as well as the unlimited in-app messaging. Sync your activity tracker. We sync with the
Mm.
major platforms in the market, so you can sync your watch. It works with the phones. And then when you're enrolling in the program right from the very beginning, we're working to help you set some goals. And then we have daily tasks to help you reach those health and wellness goals. So completing those daily tasks is another way.
So, and I just want to confirm, it doesn't sound like this is a huge time commitment. It's things people may already be doing. I know I use something else to track my food. I've already got things synced up to track my activity and so forth. We're not asking for, a half hour a day from people. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, we're not making it so that, you're having to change up your schedule, right? This program is really built with you in mind. It's designed to fit in your life and not take over it. It's not time consuming or complicated, but it's about giving you simple, practical tools that you can use to make everyday choices a little easier.
Very
And
good.
I think I will just add into like it's important to track things. It can be, you might be taking a medication, and this is just in general, but you might be taking a medication and not understand like, or notice as many side effects or like the difference it's making in you until you actually sit down and like write down what's happening. Or if you have a doctor's appointment coming up, I know I'll say like, oh, like this has been happening. And then I'm like, oh, that's a pattern. And so like, I feel like this app is really, really useful for that, especially when you're dealing with side effects of it and the potential of a lot of weight loss really rapidly, and how that can affect you mentally, physically, things like that. So I think it's super helpful and something that'll be great for our members as well.
All great call outs.
Good. And I just want to reemphasize again, I don't mean it to be the downer, and coming in with this, but I just want to remind our FSBP members that weigh in 4 times a month, just step on that scale 4 times a month, more often if you want, but for at least 4 times per month, and engaging with the app in any of the variety of ways that Grace just outlined. Got to do both of those 4 times per month to continue to have coverage under FSBP for GLP-1s for weight loss. This is our commitment with you, the member, the patient, to work toward long-term success. So Grace, I want to ask what may seem to be an obvious question, but believe it or not, this has come up. Does this program in any way replace a member's relationship with their doctor or the advice and guidance they may get from their prescriber?
Yeah, that's actually really an important question. I'm glad that you asked. The answer is no. This program does not replace someone's relationship with their doctor. Our role is really important, but it's to complement the care that you're receiving, right? We're here to provide education, encouragement, practical strategies in between those medical visits. Your prescriber or your clinician is still the one who manages the medication, adjusts your dose. They're going to monitor your labs and your overall health. Our coaching and care team is simply there to connect the dots, translate any, questions you might have, answer those questions. So think of it as like an extra layer of support, not replacing your provider.
Gotcha. And Grace, before we go, is there anything else you'd like to touch on about the program?
At the end of the day, the goal isn't just to lose weight, it's really to build your confidence and long-term habits that support your overall health. So if you're on a GLP-1 or just thinking about it, this program really gives you that extra layer of guidance and accountability to help you get the best results possible. So, we're really looking to help you lose weight, but also just live a better, healthier life.
Excellent. We're really excited to offer this support to our members in 2026. Grace, thank you again for joining us. I'm positive we'll be inviting you back at some point in the future.
So I feel like I'm part. I have to come back.
We'll get you in some AFSPA swag next time. For those who are just listening, Grace is on brand with the Teladoc swag. So we'll have to change that up for next time. So watch your mailbox. All right. Thank you. Thanks again to Grace Silverio from Teladoc Health for joining us for today's episode, and to our other partners, particularly Kristen Dominique at Teladoc Health, for her help in putting this episode together. For more information about the chronic care management programs that FSBP offers in partnership with Teladoc Health, please visit teladochealth.com/livongo/benefits/FSBP or click the link in today's show notes. We will have more information about how to register for the Advanced Weight Management Program closer to the beginning of the year. This has been AFSPA Talks, a production of the American Foreign Service Protective Association. All information offered in this podcast is meant to be educational. The views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily represent AFSPA. Should there be any discrepancy between information offered in this podcast and official plan documents for the Foreign Service Benefit Plan or the other products offered by AFSPA, the policy provisions will prevail. Thanks for listening, and don't miss a single future episode. Make sure to subscribe or follow us on your favorite podcast app. Leave us feedback, rate and review us, and engage with us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Search for AFSPA Cares. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks for listening to this episode of AFSPA Talks. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you'll never miss an episode. If you have any follow-up questions about the topics in this episode, join our AFSPA Live Q&A session on the last Thursday of every month. We will be streaming live at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/AFSPA Cares. Thanks for listening.